Here we go. Watch for it.
The wait is over. Finally, Apple has announced not only a bigger iPhone, but two, and that iWatch we've all been guessing was coming. I'm joined by Andrea Chang, who was there at the announcement, to give us a little more of her first impression since she had a little hands-on. Andrea, so tell us about the event. How was the watch received?
The watch, so there were a lot of different announcements at today's Apple event. You know, the new iPhones, this new mobile payment system, but there was no comparison. When the smartwatch was announced, the crowd went wild. It was insane. It actually got a standing ovation from the hundreds of Apple employees and guests who were there. So there was definitely mass hysteria when the smartwatch was announced.
Now, as I mentioned, there is a larger phone, and we'll get to that. But let's talk about this watch a little bit. It comes in 3 flavors?
Yeah, I like 3 flavors. Yeah, there's the standard Apple Watch. There's the Apple Watch Sport, which is sweat resistant, and that's for people who are really kind of activity, exercise buffs. And then there's also the Apple Watch Edition, which was kind of more high-end, nicer, kind of just like a nicer feel and look to it.
Now, what makes the price point they mentioned was $349, which is about $100 more than the Pebble, and that's the starting point, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the starting point, yeah. And actually, they didn't provide us with a range for that Apple Watch, so my guess is it'll go maybe a couple $100 higher than that, depending on what kind of, like bracelet you want on that, and if you want leather versus that sport, which seemed like more of like a rubber. But it is a high price point.
Okay, outside of it just being a watch, what else does it do?
So it syncs seamlessly to your iPhone. So you do need an iPhone, and it works on obviously the new iPhone 6s as well as the 5, the 5S, and the 5C. And it basically is just like another screen that's always on your body, that's easy to access. You can do a lot of the same things on that smartwatch that you can do on your iPhone. So you can use Siri to talk to it, to search. You can look at maps. So one of the demos they gave was show me Cupertino, and just using a little dial on the side of that watch, you can zoom in and zoom out, and kind of pan around with your finger. You can ask it for movie times in your local area. So just a lot of different functionalities for that smartwatch.
And it seems that it's got a little bit of past and future in it with using a digital crown to navigate.
Yeah, so I put it on just about an hour ago, and I'm not a watch wearer, so I'm not really used to even using that digital crown at all, but it made a lot more sense to use this kind of like rotating little dial to help you navigate, because the screen is small, it's a watch. And as Apple executives mentioned today, if it were just a touch screen like on your iPhone, your finger would basically just mask the entire thing. You can't see anything.
Some of the things that jumped out at me, the digital crown feels a little bit like the old iPod click wheel.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it did remind me of that a little bit. So I see where you get that from.
I was intrigued by the pressure sensitivity, so it knows the difference between a touch and a push. Did you test that out at all?
I didn't. So the models that they were letting press try out were not fully functional, so I didn't get to try that. When it was on my wrist, it was doing that kind of tapping sensation that Tim Cook mentioned, where when you get notifications and messages from your friends, it sends just a little, kind of like a light jolt, as opposed to the long kind of vibrating, long buzzing that you might get on your iPhone. It did always seem like the watch was very kind of present. It kept tapping me or notifying me.
So should Fitbit be nervous, Fitbit and the other exercise band makers?
I think yes. I mean, I think history has shown that anytime Apple gets into the mix, that they're here, they're going to be dominant. A lot of people are going to like that it works so well with this Apple ecosystem, and it's the trendy thing. I didn't particularly find it fashionable, but some people might. And yeah, if I were a competitor, I would definitely be worried.
So you know, Wall Street was not terribly excited. We were talking to David Lazarus a little while ago, and he mentioned that the stock was going up and up and up as they were introducing the iPhones, and it sort of inched downward. But as we have heard from you all, some of you are actually excited. Odie tweeted us saying, Apple did it again. Wow, exquisite technology. Can't wait to get iPhone 6. And Ashley said, this is the first Apple event in a while that's really blown my mind. So there's been mixed reviews, but I know I've seen a lot of excitement on Twitter and social media about these devices. But some have been concerned about the high price point. So it works with the iPhone, correct?
It does work with the iPhone. I think there was a lot of excitement at the event today. They did hold it at that larger Flint Center as opposed to the town hall at their headquarters in Cupertino or even in San Francisco. There were really hundreds of people there. Media was relegated to the very back of the auditorium. People, and I got a lot of feedback from my followers on Twitter who had things to say, but I would say that some of it was measured. I mean, you're always going to have like the Apple fanboys who love everything Apple, but I also got a lot of tweets from people who thought that the smartwatch was hideous and just did not like the look of it at all. They said it was bulky, that the colors were ugly, and then on the other end, there were a lot of people who said that the iPhone 6 Plus was just ginormous, and, you know, are you kidding me? When would I ever want to use this as a phone? So I was getting, I mean, I haven't looked at everything out there, but the sense I got was it was a bit mixed. But then, of course, I did see a tweet from someone who said, you know, step one, everyone complains about the new Apple products. Step two, everyone goes out and buys all the new Apple products.
Well, let's talk about the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. They're bigger, clearly.
Yep.
So we have a 4.7 in the iPhone 6, and the iPhone 6 Plus is what?
5.5 inches diagonally.
And how did that fit in your hand?
It was huge. I tweeted out some photos of me holding it, and it was like next to my face, and I felt like the iPhone 6 Plus was literally like almost the size of my face. And I'm still on a 4S right now, so my screen is only 3.5 inches. It does feel big, and to me it felt too big. People call these things phablets, a combination of a phone and a tablet. Sense that I got was most people would probably gravitate towards the iPhone 6, which seemed to be a more reasonable size, and also obviously a lower price point.
And what of those who are looking to, as you say, to use a phablet? Is it about the same size as, does it feel like a Nexus?
It did. It felt like a Nexus. It sort of felt like an iPad mini. You know, it's to me, it's just a weird in-between size. If I want a tablet, I'm going to want the full thing, or a mini. If I want a phone, I want something smaller and portable that I can carry in a clutch at night, in my purse, put it in my pocket, and when I put that iPhone 6 Plus into, I'm wearing jeans today, put it in my pocket, the entire top half of it was sticking out.
So let's talk about some of the highlights of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. It's faster, in addition to being bigger. So that's an A8 chip, and
correct.
And what else?
So the one thing that a lot of people were talking about is what it didn't have, which was that sapphire glass. I think a lot of people were hoping for the super strong glass, and that didn't come out. And I think, Michelle, I think I saw a tweet from you that said you were surprised that that camera was still only an 8 megapixel.
Yes.
And that was surprising to me too, because I feel like Apple was already kind of delayed in really upgrading that camera. But what they did say was, you know, now there's more megapixels in panoramic shots, there's image stabilization, the FaceTime front-facing camera is better. So there are new specs, but I think overall it wasn't sort of this blockbuster, highly elevated advancements on the iPhone 6 that I'm sure a lot of people were hoping for.
The advancements did feel a little incremental as opposed to mind-blowing.
Exactly, and it's interesting because I feel like usually when we go from one iPhone generation up to the S, that's when we see the small incremental changes. And this time around, I think there were expectations, since we were going from the 5S all the way up to the 6, that there was going to be something big and monumental, and that definitely was not the case.
One thing that was new was changing your phone or your watch into your wallet. Apple is really making a move toward becoming that wallet. Apple Pay, let's talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. I mean, it was obviously, and watching them demo it on stage, you could see the potential. Tim Cook introduced it by showing a video that said, this traditional wallet is something that people have been trying to get rid of for a really long time, and it showed a woman paying for something at the cash register, and that usual, we've all been there, they tell you how much it is, you're digging through your purse, trying to find your wallet, and then you have 10 credit cards, you pull out the one you want, and you're asked for ID, there's paper receipts you have to sign. It's just a pain. So Apple is trying to tackle this issue. Obviously, a lot of other companies have tried as well and have not been entirely successful. So similar with what you and I were just talking about with the smartwatch, this is usually what Apple does. There's an idea that's been put forth out there, and then Apple comes in a little late to the game and historically has done things better. So we'll see. I mean, one of the things with Apple Pay that I think already gives it a big leg up over the competition is they have a ton of partners, and that's the Apple reputation and the Apple name. So you already have Subway and Apple, or sorry, well, obviously Apple, McDonald's and Sephora.
And Whole Foods, yes.
Yeah, and then for some reason they kept talking about Whole Foods at the event today, so you kind of got the sense that everyone loved Whole Foods. But yeah, they've all signed on, and that really helps because it's not like just one or two one-off random little retailers using Apple Pay. Not all, but a lot of the big retailers out there are going to be using it.
So just a short list: Toys R Us, Bloomingdale's, the Disney parks, Duane Reade and Walgreens were also included, and some banks. Capital One, Chase, Wells Fargo, of course, B of A, and also Uber. Some in-app purchases, Groupon, MLB. So it does look like they're starting with a sizable enough group of retailers to make it interesting.
Definitely.
Now that integrates NFC and the touch. Is that right?
That's right. So it does have NFC, so that means that when you're at a retailer, it can recognize, that you're there. And then what you do, I saw a quick demo of this in the product demo area. You take your phone and which recognizes your fingerprint, you just hold it up to a very small little device. It beeps, and you're good to go. We'll see how it actually works in practice, and I think there are a lot of people out there who are skeptical and who are nervous, especially given the entire celebrity picture hacking of the last week, that wow, there were a lot of tweets, right or wrong, that say I don't even trust Apple with my nude selfies, so how would I be able to trust them with my credit card information, my payment info?
Well, that's a good question. We'd love to hear from you. You can follow us for additional coverage, but tweet us at LA Times with whether you and what you think of the new products. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle Malte for the Los Angeles Times.